Boys Bible Study. It's us. It's your favorite boys. It's actually my birthday today. Shout outs to me.
Happy birthday.
I'm working on my birthday.
Happy birthday
to you.
As they're recording. Thanks, boys. We're back. As always, I'm Ash. I am here with my co-hosts,
Scott
And Julian.
Today, we have a very interesting Christian movie called HELLRAISER III. Our guest to talk about it with us is comedian, visual artist, and Cenobite, Sarah Squirm. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
I didn't realize it was your birthday this entire time.
Yeah.
I would have been a lot nicer and had a better fucking attitude.
Yeah, it's I'm working on my birthday, but thank you for coming on. It seems to me from following your work that like you have an affinity for Hellraiser. Why is that? Why do you
Hellraiser?
Why do you feel such a personal connection?
Well, for one thing, Hellraiser does my favorite visual effect, my favorite gore, which is ripping someone's skin off. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I like to watch real videos of that. I like to watch Hellraiser VFX videos of that.
That happened to Jimmy Fallon.
Oh,
When
when
he
he
got
got
his
like
wedding ring.
wasted and blackout and
Yeah.
ripped his finger off and then told everyone online it was like, I fell and my ring came off.
Yeah, it's called degloving. You probably already know that.
I know
your
about
hand
that.
comes off.
Like when you get your ponytail stuck in the machine at the factory and it, yup.
Wait, tell me about these
Yeah.
these skin videos that you watch. Do you have any recommendations?
these skin flicks.
Well, I would recommend the factory degloving with the ponytail. I would also recommend just your classic learn how to deglove a squirrel. That's something
that
everyone
sounds
should probably learn how to do, just in
Yeah,
case.
that's
you're in the
useful.
wilderness.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can pull the whole thing off like a tube sock.
Or if it's just you
Oh.
and one other human in the woods.
And that's what we call Hellraiser 18.
Yeah. Also, what are you working on right now artistically? Like what's going on in Sarah's world?
When does this come out?
On Sunday, like in 6 days.
Well, yeah, in 6 days on a Sunday when people are listening to this, I want them to keep their eyes peeled, not peeled all the way off Hellraiser style, but I want them to keep their eyes peeled for a big video Sarah's going to put online that's grosser than ever.
Whoa.
Cool.
Spoiler alert,
Is it
there's going to be
ponytail caught in the...
piss,
Ooh.
no ponytails, but there's going to be pee, there's going to be poop, there's going to be blood, and there's a little bit of cum.
Oh, the
All
four
right.
stations of the cross.
The body, the blood, and the cum of Christ.
Where can people see this video? Should they be following you if they're not
Well,
already?
wouldn't you like to know? That's going to be a secret until I decide to announce it and
Sure.
to no one who cares.
Sure. Well, we will certainly be looking forward to that. Also, I'm curious to know, being that, this is a Christian podcast, do you possibly have a personal connection to Christianity or to spirituality in general? What's your spiritual inner life like?
My spiritual inner life is that I'm 1,000,000,000% Jewish. No one's ever been. You got the biggest Jew on the podcast, that's for sure. And my spiritual path is that I went insane during quarantine and found God.
Whoa.
really?
In the sense
He's
that
always in the last place you look.
he's always in the last place you look, and he's always there when you're so bored out of your mind and you've been like robbed of everything that brings you joy in life. So you're like, I guess I'll talk to God now.
Yes.
I got nothing else going on.
100%. Yes. What's that been like for you?
The quarantine or just me and
talking
God,
to God.
shaking hands?
Yeah, what are God's responses like?
His responses are like, oh, you want to fucking complain to me, bitch? Well, here's 6 more earthquakes that are going to wake you up in the middle of the night in Los Angeles, California.
Classic.
That sounds like the Jewish God.
Yep, and he's mad at me because I am complaining.
Yeah, that's some Torah type shit for sure. Like, no question.
That's that Old Testament shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to hear that you've been connecting to a power greater than yourself. It's a very, very, in my opinion, an enlightened way to be looking at the world.
Yeah, I've been connecting to being greater than myself, honey, and her name is Ritalin, bitch.
Well, many like monks and, spiritual leaders throughout the ages, used substances to enter like ecstatic trance-like states that sort of connected them to the divine.
Hookup.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, we being a Christian podcast, that's also a film podcast, we wanted to finally cover HELLRAISER III, which was actually something that we sort of had on our agenda since we began the show almost a year ago. And we thought that Sarah would be the perfect person to help us work through this one. I guess I just want to start by asking all of us, like, what are we can all take a turn. What's our general thoughts on this movie? What do we like about HELLRAISER III specifically? Maybe as it compares to the other Hellraisers, or just in general as a film.
It was fucking awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Whoa, we're with Pinhead.
Hello, mate. My name's Pinhead. Are you feeling
Randy,
do I
baby.
make you brandy?
Pinhead, sir, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was really amazing to see your magnum opus, HELLRAISER III. I thought Pinhead really was like raised to a new level in this film. Like, to me, like Pinhead's like camp level was turned up in this one in a way that I really appreciate about HELLRAISER III.
He was cracking wise left and right, laughing the whole way through. You could tell he was just having a fun time.
Yeah.
And that's the Pinhead we want to see.
Yeah.
When Pinhead's happy, I'm happy.
And I feel, am I allowed to spoiler alert?
Yes, yeah.
And get ahead of ourselves?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dimensionality of Pinhead in this movie.
Yes.
We're getting origin story a little bit with him. We're getting, psychosexual drama, which we always get with Pinhead. We're also getting some Freudian duality
Yes.
Pinhead. We're getting spiritual Catholic sinner saint Pinhead. We're getting a lot of dimensions from the Pinhead,
Yes.
almost as many dimensions as we get from our beautiful box.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Trapped in the column Pinhead, which apparently he said was extremely uncomfortable to film those scenes. That's all I got on the column.
I could see that. I could imagine that.
I was doing a deep dive on the Wikipedia article, and apparently he was very upset during a lot of the filming of this because they did a new type of makeup for Pinhead that could be applied in like 2 hours instead of the 6 hours that it normally takes. And I guess it was
Jesus.
really uncomfortable. And he also, this is the first time that anybody other than, what's his name? The guy who plays Pinhead, took on the role of Pinhead because
Doug Bradley.
yeah, this is the first time anybody other than Doug Bradley took on the role of Pinhead because he had to have a stand-in for when they were like his two characters were confronting each other at the end.
Sure.
And he said he was really pissed off when he saw somebody else dressed as Pinhead.
Wow. He has such a psychic connection to the role. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley. Yeah, he's the actor who's plays Pinhead in this film and the previous Hellraisers. He also appears in this film as his human self, Elliot, who we can get into a little more of the duality between man and demon that we see.
And to that I say, stay in the Pinhead makeup, honey.
Hey, actually, now that you say that, Julian, do you think those scenes got written in because he's like, I can't, guys, it's too much. I can't always be in this. Could I just be like myself for a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I think apparently this movie was they were just trying to do a cash grab on the Hellraiser franchise, and it took a lot of work from Bob Weinstein of Miramax to get Clive Barker to sign off on it. He originally wanted his name dropped from executive producer because of all the CG effects.
It is much wackier. Like 1 and 2 have a very specific tone to them, and that tone is not here in Hellraiser 3.
The director had only done a couple movies before this, and one of them was Waxworks, which is like a horror comedy movie. And I guess Clive Barker was kind of pissed off that they were getting like a cheeky monkey to direct this one.
Cheeky monkey.
Didn't he have to buy a book on directing when he directed the first Hellraiser, though? What is he to judge?
Yeah, what's that story?
Yeah, this is a friend told me this, that he and then I looked it up and it is true. He claims that
your friend Anthony Hickox.
Yeah.
You're talking about Clive Barker, right?
Yeah, Clive Barker says that when he got offered the role of director on the first Hellraiser, because he had just written the book, he didn't expect them to actually give him the director job, but they wanted him to direct, and he signed off on it, said he was going to do it, and then he immediately went to a library and checked out a book called How to Direct Movies.
And he knocked that one out of the park.
Yeah.
And now we have 1 million Hellraiser movies. Nice work.
You don't got to go to AFI or USC or Full Sail. You can just go to your local library.
Yeah. Now, speaking of all the many Hellraisers that there are, Scott, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of all of us, you've seen the most. You said while we were watching that, like, Doug Bradley as Pinhead is a pretty good marker of like when the series is actually good. But how would you place Hellraiser 3 in the ranking of the Hellraiser franchise that you've seen?
Third best.
Okay.
Wow.
Is it chronological? Is that really how it goes? Because I like 2 a little more than 1.
Yeah, I actually like 2 the best. I like 1 the second best. I like 3 the third best. And then I think actually all of them that still have Doug Bradley are pretty good and worth watching. And then as soon as he quits, it's I'm glad I watched all of them. I'm not going to watch all of them again.
Sure.
What about you, Sarah? Where would you rank this in your Hellraiser power rankings?
I would say I've only seen up to 4, and famously 4. That's the computer one, right? That's cyberspace.
Yeah.
I would have to say that one you got to put computer over this one. Well, no, maybe not. It might be. I might rank the first one first, the second one second, the third one third, and the fourth one fourth. Sorry.
Well, the computer one,
boring.
It was like you said when you said when we were watching this one, this one doesn't really have like a focus or a theme to it.
But they dabbled in computers on this one, which I thought was interesting. But they didn't. They had a lot of dabbling around, but they didn't land on anything.
This is the sampler.
This is the sampler platter. TV is bad, radio's bad, news is bad, sex is bad, clubs are bad, music's bad.
This one does feel very Christian because of that, though. Because like anything bad you do or hedonistic, you're dead.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that maybe, even though there's absolutely religious, like heaven and hell themes in all of the Hellraiser franchise, this one really rings out to me as a Christian movie. I think because of that, also the very just like explicit, almost like too on the nose, like Christian moments. Like, for instance, the amazing church sequence where Pinhead takes the pins out of his head, puts them in his hands to get the stigmata, and then like holds his arms out and like creaks his head to the side to be like Jesus on the cross and says, "I am the way." It's like not very subtle.
As the podcast's resident Jew, I do have to say it wasn't lost on me that he did pull horns out of his head and then put them in his hands as a stigmata. So a little ode to me as well.
It's so good to see yourself represented in cinema.
Exactly. Because inside every Pinhead is a sinner and a saint.
Yes.
And a Jew and a Christian.
Yes.
The 2 genders.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. But yeah, actually what you were saying, Scott, I think brings us to like Sunday school class, like Christian talking point number 1, which I wanted to explore through the realm of Hellraiser 3. So I put this question to the floor. So in Hellraiser 3, there's clearly a theme about desire and giving yourself over to desire. How does that theme manifest in the film? Also, do we as a group of people think that your physical desires are something that should be explored, or should they be repressed in the name of spiritual growth? What do we think? That's a long question. Any part of that you might want to talk about? Go off.
I thought it was interesting that he was like linked that the movie links exploration of physical desire with like after you experience all the traumas of war in Vietnam, the only place left to explore is like the most debased sexual depravity known to humankind.
Yes.
So like Pinhead's origin stories is that I guess he's a traumatized general in Vietnam or something, and he's like and he loses all faith in humanity, and so all he has left is to just like explore depraved, painful sexual practice.
Yes.
Which I think is funny because it's like you can murder innocent civilians in a country you've occupied, but what's more fucking debased than that? BDSM, bitch.
Yes.
Nipple clamps.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I didn't connect those two, but that is a very interesting juxtaposition there. Yeah, I love that, like, you know, aspect to Hellraiser where it's like, I mean, I guess a lot of horror movies do this, and like obviously, you know, Hellraiser is just like trying to be fun, but it is really fun how like, yeah, the movie's like a warning sign against you know, sex. You know, it compares. There's that Pinhead quote where he actually compares sex to murder. When you know, sex pot JP, you know, is like gonna fuck that girl, and then Pinhead in the statue is like, you enjoy her, and then I enjoy her, like meaning he's gonna eat her afterward.
You enjoyed the girl.
Yes.
Good. So did I. And that's all.
No, it's not the same. No, what you did, that was fucking evil, man.
Oh, how uncomfortable that word must feel on your lips. Evil. Good. There is no good, Monroe. There is no evil. There is only flesh.
But at the same time, it's just like a horny movie. So I love that, you know?
Well, that's like the whole Hellraiser like mythos is like pain is pleasure and pleasure is pain, and like being horny is like oh so bad, which makes it oh so good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I never thought about this in a Christian context, but in like every movie, Pinhead or Frank or whatever, like demon is always telling the ladies to come to daddy. And it's like, you know, come to your Father, the Son, the Holy, whatever.
Right.
This is like the most on the nose iteration of like come to daddy. Come to daddy and do like kink play by stapling yourself to the cross.
Yes.
Do we ever actually see like any sort of representation of Jesus or like Christianity in the Hellraiser series? Because it's sort of just like there's hell and the demons and the Cenobites, but there's no. Do we ever see like heaven or anything other than that, or is it just the box?
Just the box and hell. This one's the closest we get with Pinhead in church doing the whole rigmarole.
Interesting tidbit about that. This was shot in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the local crew did not want to shoot in the church. And there was like a big commotion about how a lot of the crew was like protesting shooting in the church.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, you know, that's interesting because, yeah, I do think that this film, of the ones I've seen, which to be fair is only the first three, but this film does definitely get the closest to like deliberately invoking Christianity. And this time watching it, the moment that really jumped out at me was when she takes cover in the church at like the beginning of the third act of the film, and she sees the priest and she's like, the demons are coming. And the priest says, no, demons aren't real. They're just metaphors. And then, of course, you know, Pinhead walks through the door.
They just keep coming. They just keep coming.
Who keeps coming?
The demons! The demons!
Demons? Demons aren't real. They're parables, metaphors.
Then what the fuck is that?
And it was kind of interesting because like it invoked like the idea that the Christian church is like completely impotent to like a real demonic threat. I thought that was very interesting commentary.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
It was funny to hear a priest in a horror movie, like someone run up to a priest and say, there's demons after me. And the priest being like, oh, demons are just representations.
Right.
I mean, like, how do priests usually exorcise a demon out of you? They just like pray over you and stuff like that?
From my understanding, there are like rites, like there are like pre-written prayers, and there is a ritual for performing an exorcism for casting something out. But I would imagine it's mostly praying over people.
Because I'm thinking like those prayers aren't going to do a thing when you got meat hooks flying through the ceiling.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because they're there to tear your friggin' soul apart.
Right.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, just your soul if you're lucky.
Right.
Because some of these people got their freaking foreskin ripped out, their toenails pulled off, all kinds of nasty stuff.
Camera shoved through their head.
What was everybody's favorite Cenobite? Speaking of the camera guy, because this one has a whole crop of new Cenobites.
We know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it's the CD Cenobite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I kind of like the bartender one because he was the closest one to Butterball, the all-time best one. But he also, there's that moment where he like busts through a brick wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and then she like, it pauses on him for like a split second, like, what's this guy's thing? And then he just shoots a bunch of fire out of his mouth.
So sick.
And then he shakes the shaker full of gasoline.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 20 minutes later when I said to myself, oh, Molotov cocktail. Yes.
This is a dense movie. This is a thinking person's movie.
It's very lyrical. I have to agree with CD, the DJ, I believe is his character's name. It's so cool because it really makes CDs look cool.
CD's nuts.
You could say that if you wanted to.
You gonna take that, bro? You gonna sit there and just take that? CD's nuts.
That's what Pinhead should have said.
They could have gone like above and beyond and been like, yeah, these are like fucking like Marilyn Manson CDs. Like, this is why they had to put those warnings on all those Korn CDs.
Yes.
They instigate violence in teenagers.
Yes. Well, you know what? That brings up an interesting point that I think is meditated on in this movie, which is like how art is a gateway into the demonic, right? Like, I feel like in this movie, there's so many instances where a piece of art is what like unlocks the next phase of death and destruction.
The villain is like portrayed as like a twisted, sick individual because he collects dark and twisted Hot Topic art in his apartment.
It starts at an art gallery.
Right.
In a bad part of town, quote unquote. Which there's so much commentary they could have done nowadays about that. About the evil of art galleries opening in the quote-unquote bad part of town.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pinhead is birthed from a gentrification zone.
Yes.
Can you imagine if that column was an NFT, how much freaking power it would take to...
Yeah, Pinhead in this movie first appears because he's actually been like imprisoned within this like very, very evil looking column that appears to be like a very twisted, painful sculpture that our sort of human villain of the film for the first half before he gets killed, JP, who's very, very hot, by the way. He collects this.
I was mad when he got killed. I'll tell you what. I was liking to be looking at that guy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But his taste in art really became his downfall in this. If he hadn't liked the sickest shit, then he might be alive right now. He might be talking to us on this podcast right now, but unfortunately he's not. But I also feel like, nowadays, now that like all, like neoliberal aesthetics have like merged all art into like corporate art now. Like, I mean, where can you even get a column like that is what I'm saying. Like JP nowadays would have been like a Banksy imitator,
Yeah.
Or Banksy.
Yeah. Oh, he could have just been Banksy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Banksy would have been revealing his beautiful, we would know what Banksy looked like if he looked like
Right.
friggin' that. I'll tell you that.
Right. Yeah.
Cenobite Banksy.
Do you think Banksy is just ugly? And
Yeah,
that's why-
are you kidding?
If he was a Cenobite, he would have like spray paint can hands and
Whoa.
like a beanie fused to his, or a balaclava fused to his face.
A Banksy Cenobite would be like a girl with like a gun to her head and there's like butterflies coming out, but she's like evil.
I want to see the Mr. Brainwash Cenobite too. He's just got a bunch of other Cenobites doing his work for him.
Yeah.
But art, visual art in this case is like a portal into hell. There's also that amazing sequence when like the fucked up sculptures in JP's like nightclub come to life and start like killing people. But also, as you were saying, Sarah, TV is the enemy once again in this movie. It's media, as they say.
It's media, but it's like also like what's her name? Joey, the main character. It's like her portal to like communicating with her like own dream world and her like dead father. So it's this like weird, like you can in Hellraiser 3, you communicate with demons through television and radio, but you also communicate with the ghost of your dead father fighting in Vietnam.
Right.
So I don't know what they're going for there, honey.
Well, like new means of communication are always like seen as metaphors for like the Tower of Babel, where the more connected you can be to other people, the more likely it is that demons will come out through that. So it's good for everybody to be in their own, in their own little worlds.
Right.
If you think about it, our cell phones are sort of like the Hellraiser box in a way.
Right.
Oh, wait till you hear about these vaccines.
Oh, brother. Are you kidding me? A pinhead?
Yeah,
With, instead of pins, he's got syringes on
This is
his
Dr. Fauci with syringes. You've heard of the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson. Well, how about the Larchmont configuration? One dose and you're hooked.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's true. There's something, there is always with every new breed of mass media communication, there is just like this built-in anxiety that comes with it of what if this takes us too far? And yeah, I mean, just like when I see, like main character Joey, the plucky reporter who ends up taking on Pinhead, when she's getting messages from him through the TV, I think about ways that people still use to like allegedly contact the occult, like spirit boxes. Are you familiar with spirit boxes? It's like a radio. It's like people like set a radio to like the scanner function, and like as it loops through, it just goes up, and like every time they hear a word, they write it down. There's like videos on YouTube that are like a half hour long of people just going through spirit boxes. There's this guy called Mortis the Wizard who does like spirit box readings, and I kind of got like that vibe from Hellraiser 3. There's a bit of like a spirit box element to the mass media in this film.
And mass media can also be like underground, like twisted, bad art school sculptures of dead babies tied up to a scissor.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, it can be a rave, it can be an evil rave.
Remember those?
Right. God, I can't wait to go to a rave again. But, what did we think of the rave scenes in this film? Is this a party we would be attending?
Oh
Yeah, brother. I'll go to any frickin', even if it means I get hooks shoved through my eyeballs at the end of it.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to see the Pinhead handing out some plur.
Yes.
in
Plur
candy.
Pinhead
Yeah.
at a happy hardcore rave. Oh, that would be so sick. I also wanted to know, do we think Pinhead is the devil?
I don't think so.
No.
Only because I looked at the Hellraiser wiki.
Okay.
And it said the Cenobites are, at some point, they're destroyed by Lucifer. I wasn't able to really glean any more information from that, but I would imagine that happens in like Hellraiser 14 or something.
And I'm going to say something insane and
Go
say
off.
that I'm going to go ahead and say it's almost like Pinhead is like kind of this like weird allegory for like demonic humanity almost, because he can't be Satan because he's not fully evil. And he like exists in this like realm of like bodily pleasure and pain. So he has like still all these like trappings of humanity. Like he like gets off from like skinning girls alive. So he's like sucking and fucking and killing and coming.
Right.
So I guess like he's like a demonic like humanoid or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he has this duality within him that is good still. There is like deep down, I mean, I guess how do we explain this? The like ego version of Pinhead is the self that fought in the Vietnam War, right? And then like the demonic version of Pinhead is the guy who like, slices everybody up or whatever. But like the good version of Pinhead ultimately has to like sacrifice himself in order to like save humanity. So there is that weird like Christ allegory within Pinhead himself.
Right. That's very interesting. I mean, who is Jesus, but like God made flesh. He was a human. He existed in the realm of flesh and blood. He is God, but at the same time, he had to obey the commandments of what it's like to be a human. He had to die. He had to endure physical pain and death. And Pinhead is like an anti-Christ in that way, not in the way we traditionally use the term, but it's like he is sort of like Jesus in that he's a representation of this like metaphysical realm made flesh, but to walk an opposite path, it's very interesting. I agree with you. He's not a spirit. He's not a ghost. Like he is a physical being.
And instead of ultimately being like above the flesh, all he cares about is flesh.
Right.
He loves flesh.
Ooh, you're making me hungry. That's my impression of Army Hammer.
And never forget, famously improvised in the first Hellraiser, Frank says, Jesus wept.
Right.
He came up with that?
That was improvised?
Apparently.
Whoa.
Like, you let Sarah Nicole loose on an IMDb trivia page. All of those facts will be the word of God to me.
Yeah, also that reminds me, we get a Bible verse in this one too, basically, because in the church, Pinhead does say, I am the way.
I am the way.
Which, as you pointed out, Scott, is a reference to John 14, verse 6. What's that one, Scott?
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Love that. You just love to hear that. So yeah, Pinhead in that scene, he's basically doing like a Black Sabbath type situation. He's imitating church rituals to profane the church. And he also kind of at that moment really does make clear that he is a Christ figure in a way.
Jesus should be canceled for gatekeeping heaven. Saying shit like that.
Damn, that's a good hot take, Julian. Well, also too, with the no one comes to the Father except through me. He is the person he's talking to. He's literally the father of, right? Like he's Joey's father.
Well, eventually, he's not the actual father, but he does take on that form later. because his war flashbacks
But the only
are
way
different.
to her father is through him.
That's
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
True.
Yeah,
Okay. All this in a movie where a guy looks around at CDs floating around his head before they decapitate him.
This shit's deep. I'm saying this is a Christian movie, I would say. When Pinhead is doing the mock communion in the church, when he says,
This is my body. This is my blood. Happy are they who come to my supper.
he says, "This is my body and this is my blood" to the priest as he feeds the priest his own skin or something like that. I mean, let us not forget that famously in Catholicism, transubstantiation. I mean, they're thinking that communion does actually physically become the flesh and blood of Christ, So that's an interesting, just little spiritual parallel here too.
Yeah, who's more perverted, you weird little Christians or Pinhead himself?
At least
Makes
he's
you
open
think.
about it. Yeah.
Makes you
And
think.
I said this before, but he feeds the priest a piece of his flesh and says the whatever. And I'm saying missed opportunity. He could have ripped his nipple off. Looks exactly like a little wafer. Placed it on his tongue. And that's sort of where I come in. I say, when you say, "Oh, I was born during the wrong time," get Sarah in there. I could have done a couple punch ups.
Yes.
There was a lot of puns that were sort of left hanging in the dust.
Yes. Yeah,
you should just start working on your own Hellraiser movie.
Yeah.
I really strongly encourage you to do that.
Yes.
So that's why I actually came on here today. I know that at least 40,000 to 60,000 listeners listen to every single podcast of every episode of this podcast. So I'm just here to sort of fundraise for my movie, Hellraiser 26.
Yeah.
Hell on Sarah.
Speaking of punch-ups, I found out last night that Chris Kattan in his autobiography said that Paul Thomas Anderson did a rewrite of Corky Romano, but was uncredited.
Wow.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Every time I watch that movie, I'm going to think about it a lot differently now.
I want to circle back to something you said, Julian, because I have to disagree with you about Jesus gatekeeping heaven here.
Oh, wait, what?
I have to disagree with you on this because, I mean, Jesus actually, I think he did the opposite. He had all these rules and things, but he died so that we didn't have to get circumcised anymore. We didn't have to do animal sacrifices anymore. No.
Oh,
you didn't get the memo?
I gotta talk to my parents.
I'm just saying, he actually took away, I think, some of those gates.
Yeah, you're right. We should be canceling St. Peter.
Yes. Yeah, the ultimate gatekeeper.
Did Jesus in any way silence the female narrative?
Well, we watched Mary Magdalene.
Yeah,
2018.
the filmmakers of the 2018 film Mary Magdalene, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara, did seem to think that whether it was Jesus or the Christian church did sort of silence Mary Magdalene in some way. I don't know. I think she's great. I don't really think if she was here she could tell us herself. But I mean, I don't know. But yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about potentially about Hellraiser 3 is one thing I think it was maybe. Oh, sorry. What are you going to say, Julian?
I was going to say, are there more female saints or female Cenobites?
That's a good question. I'm going to assume saints. I don't really know my saints too well. There's quite a few female saints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. I don't know.
And famously, only one female Cenobite. And what's her freaking name?
The woman.
Right.
The woman.
Was when JP's girlfriend Terry dies in this film and because of Cenobite, is that
And nice of you to call her girlfriend at that point.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think
They kinda got back
that guy
together.
was dipping his winky in a lot of different pools at that point.
Sure.
He was handing out a lot of roses.
Yeah.
Like I'm not an interesting person? But you gave me a rose.
Tomorrow, I'll give one to somebody else. Now get dressed and get out of here.
But is that the origin story of the female Cenobite, or is that a different one? Because if not, the character design was basically exactly the same.
Yeah, I think it was just the same character design.
Sure.
And in that way, all the female characters in Hellraiser are extremely underwritten because all the female Cenobites have the same character design.
Right.
It's true. We got to bust through that glass portal to hell.
I think Joey was busting through some glass portals, right? She was a young reporter on the rise.
Yeah. In the beginning of the movie, she talks about one of her colleagues is telling her she's got to show some skin on TV to rise to the top. And she's really big about, no, I want to do this right. I'm gonna break the new hot story.
What do you mean technique?
I mean, hardly any thigh. An inch more flesh, the boys upstairs get hot. Bingo, you're an anchor woman.
Come on, Brad. Give her a break.
This may be a surprise to you, Brad. But I want to do this the right way. Tight stories, not tight skirts.
I thought like the female characters in this movie were like, pretty developed, they had a lot of agency, as they say. I was gonna attribute this to Clive Barker's gay male gaze, which I think makes Hellraiser 1 and 2 so good. Granted, different director on this film. Not sure if that's a gay guy or not, but I think this movie's pretty gay, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
he had Terry in a chain belt, scene 6. Okay, a straight man isn't putting Terry in a chain belt at the top of the movie.
Also, like, it's very typical to the Hellraiser franchise. Like, all of the sex scenes, like, just focus on the guy. Like, it's like straight sex scenes, but it's like the guy's really like front and center. Like Frank in Hellraiser 1 and 2 is like seems to me to be like the focal point of all the sex scenes. I thought that like that really good sex scene toward the beginning of Hellraiser 3 was like very JP oriented.
And I think it was feminist in that way because it was highlighting the sex scene was highlighting his abuse of power. He's the club owner. He's using his authority and power over women to manipulate them and have sex with them. And so it was showing the sex was illustrating his male violence. And when he comes, like you were saying, who said that? He hits the T-pose.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah.
And that also goes into that thing you said Pinhead says right after he has sex, where it's like we both use women for the same thing, essentially,
right?
Which is like to feel power.
Right. And Pinhead says to JP at one point, JP's trying to like reckon with the fact that the statue's talking to him, and like Pinhead's trying to get him to do his bidding and like basically feed more people to the statue. And Pinhead says to JP the exact same line that JP says to that woman in the club.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why are you hiding from yourself?" It's like a direct reference to like JP's pickup line to get women to sleep with him, which was very, very interesting. Poetic touch.
Don't do that. Don't put yourself down. If you have a quality, you should be proud of that. You should let that define you, whatever it is.
Don't flee from yourself. If you have a quality, be proud of it. Let it define you, whatever it is.
If I saw that freaking statue talk, I'd put it in the middle of Times Square with a little tip jar right next to the silver robot guy.
If I saw that statue talk, I'd have sex with it.
Hey!
What's the Christian stance on idols and whatever?
They're bad.
Like, yeah.
Not
There's
right.
a little bit of that in there. Don't be worshiping no talking statue.
Yeah, and Pinhead throws that back at the priest, where he says, like, don't bear witness to false idols.
Yeah,
when he holds the what do you freaking call the T thing?
The crucifix? Or the cross? Yeah,
and then he melts it in his hand.
Yes, that's very interesting. Yeah, there is that moment where the priest is scared of Pinhead and holds out the cross, and Pinhead accuses it of being a graven image.
Thou shalt not bow down before any graven image.
Which is kind of like an interesting like point in like Christianity, because like Catholics tend to use a lot more like objects than Protestants. Although, a Protestant worship service too, there's absolutely like crosses and candles and like objects that play a part of the ritual. But I don't know. I mean, when I was young, I always thought Catholicism was a little like weird for that reason. It felt like pagan to me at the time. Like I would see like Catholic services and be like, this just doesn't feel right, you know?
Yeah, same.
But you know,
us Jews don't get shit. We don't get to look at fucking anything.
Yeah.
Menorah.
Yeah, we got the menorah.
Dreidels.
Dreidels.
We got Purim. That's like second Halloween, but happier.
True. We get to look at pictures of Larry David.
Mad Magazine.
Yeah. Young Frankenstein.
I think another, like, for me, I mean, feel free to bring up anything else. For me, one final, like, maybe spiritual talking point I wanted to hit with regards to Hellraiser 3 is one of you, it might have been Sarah, I can't remember, pointed out that, like, the way the Cenobites treat Joey is different than the other humans. Like, the other humans are basically just, like, meat to be fed to the shredder. But Joey's a little different. Like, they don't just go out and fucking like take her with the hook. And to me, that's because she's like embarking on this like spiritual quest. Like, she's sort of like in an extra like spiritual storyline there. I don't know. Is there something there? Is Joey on like is Joey's spiritual quest our own? What do you think? I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just felt like they forgot how people act. And it was just one of those things where the bad guy's like, oh, I can't wait to kill you.
Right.
Yeah,
it's going to be so good when I kill you.
They shove her and make fun of her.
Yeah. Yeah, like blow smoke in her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that also highlights the like confounding power of the box, which is that everyone's afraid to touch the box, but then if you finger the box the right way, then it's the weapon. But you know, Pinhead wants the box, but he's afraid to touch the girl holding the box. And do we like the box, or you know, whatever. And then I think it's interesting at the end that, you know, she buries the box in the you know, whatever, in the rocks, and a building rises from its place, which has the same architecture of the box's design. And I'm saying, okay, so we're blowing up the metaphor a little bit here. We have a corporate building that has the geometry of the box. Where are we going with this? Are we going to talk about the evils of capitalism? But no, it's actually, the movie's just over. It's never going to be addressed.
There's so much, especially with like the whole like machinations of war, and like
they never do that. They never go there.
They don't really talk about that. He's just like, yeah, war sucked, so I wanted to play with a puzzle for a while.
Yeah, he had to clear his head.
Yeah, it's like George Bush's paintings.
Julian, thank you for pointing out to how silly war scenes are, because it's just pure physical comedy.
Like fake,
bodies just like
rubber arms
around.
flying everywhere. There's just one shot in slow motion where a guy is like flipped upside down and landing on his neck, and I'm just like, that poor stunt guy looks like he's about to actually die in this war scene.
I have a friend who went to war, so of course I'm going, hey, what's war like? You know, you see stuff flying around, and he's like, no, you're like really far away from everyone, and you're just like shooting into nothing.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, I got images in my head of like, you know, we got arms flying like Hellraiser.
Right.
We should have gotten that. We should have gotten that in this Hellraiser. Just guys standing in a field really far away from stuff.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's why he picked up the puzzle.
Bored and dirty and tired.
I do think it's interesting though that like she like is able to traverse the dream world to talk to her dad, and then it's like nothing is used with that.
Yeah, especially because her like foil, essentially, or her like darker half, which is the girl from the club.
Right.
is like
her like psychosexual like lesbian foil.
Yeah, and her whole thing is like, oh, I can't dream. All I've ever wanted to do is dream, and then apparently that's like what she gains through following Pinhead is like the last thing she essentially says to Joey is like, I can finally dream now.
I don't dream. Never have. No, it's just, it's really neat for me to hear about dreams. I'm jealous. It's like everyone has another world except for me,
I can dream now, Joey. Oh, you wouldn't believe what I can dream of now.
Which is interesting because she achieves her dreams. And then it's like, well, what's Joey's dreams? Like, she doesn't get, we don't know. Like, does she go on to be the reporter that she wants to be or whatever?
She goes to Monterey.
She goes to Monterey.
Well, I guess her dream was to meet her father.
And she did.
And she did, and it was Pinhead. Pulling another classic Pinhead prank.
This is a movie about a woman following her dreams and succeeding.
Well, one is literally following her dreams. You can dream again. And that's another thing. It's like, oh, she's like, I can dream now. And then it's like, all right, are we going to go there? I guess not.
No, her dream was to be able to smoke through the hole in her neck.
The first two movies, they're like, when you go to hell, like when you go to the portal to hell, you like don't know if the dreamer is dreaming that they're going to hell. It's like unclear. And then the only reason that you're made to like believe that it's real is because then like the dream is made flesh and like people are getting like cut up and hurt and stuff like that. And so there is this like weird missed opportunity with dreaming in this one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Especially because the dreaming Cenobite, like the DJ Cenobite, has the CDs in his head. The bartender one has the cocktail mixer. The camera guy has a camera for an eye. The humping guy has the weird piston thing going
machine.
up and down. Yeah. And then the dreaming one, they're like, oh, she smoked a lot. She should be wearing like a nightcap and like a sleeping mask or something.
She's the sleepy Cenobite.
Yeah.
She has a sleep apnea mask on.
Well, what do we think? Any other like main points or like favorite scenes for the movie that anyone wanted to bring up before we go into our like final discussion and ratings? What did you have?
The last thing was there's the really weird one-off line where JP Monroe pulls the gun on Pinhead. And Pinhead says, oh, that's the gun that you used to kill your parents.
Oh, how touching. That is the gun you used to kill your parents.
What the hell was that?
I'm pretty sure that's just a reference to the Menendez brothers who killed their parents and then went, like, said the mafia did it, but they went on this insane shopping spree and, like, bought a restaurant in New Jersey and were like photographed at like Lakers games courtside right after their parents.
Oh yeah, is that around the same time? Actually?
Yeah, I looked it up. Wow. It happened in 1989, and then the trial didn't end until like 1996. But around the time that this movie came out was
and
shortly
they were
after.
Gorgeous as well.
Yeah.
This movie came out in 92, so they were probably starting to work on it then.
They were,
so that makes sense.
So I think around this time was like right after they were suspects in their own parents' murder because of the fact that they were like spending so much money right after their parents died.
Right. So yeah, here's JP, who's this like young, successful guy who like owns a restaurant and like, has
a bar and grill.
Right.
Yeah.
A little
Joey,
classier.
take notes. We got a hot story for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that was like their kind of like pseudo way of explaining how he has so much money.
Yeah. Yeah, it was implied. It was sort of like
really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call.
Plus it feeds into the whole like violence in TV things cuz like the Menendez brothers' parents were like a television producer. And this was like around that time of like natural born killers, like TV so violent, it's making our kids violent.
Right.
Did you all watch the Lifetime Menendez Brothers movie with Courtney Love as the mom?
Yes. I think I saw that with you, Scott. Very interesting movie. No, and that's true. Like just even the Menendez brothers trial and like that era of like superstar trials, you know, where the televised primetime trial that like everyone in America was watching.
He also kind of looks like one of the Menendez brothers.
Does he?
I think.
That's cool. I haven't seen a picture of one of them in a long time, but he's got the
They're
dark
hot.
hair.
Don't worry about it.
They're married in prison. They both got married while they were in prison.
To each other?
Yeah,
Damn,
it's so
bro.
romantic. Sometimes the one is just staring you right in the face.
But what Julian's showing me a picture of the Menendez brothers. You know what? Actually, there's something there.
The guy on the
JP
left.
does really feel like sort of like stylized Menendez. I love this theory, Julian. I think that's very astute.
It has to be like a cultural reference because it was like literally one line that was thrown out and then into the dumpster.
Yes.
So it had to have meant something to like in context.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, it was like trying to engage with this shadow self of humanity, but just giving us that one little thread into this into the Menendez trial. Very interesting.
I have a random question. Do you think it was confusing for Joey, whose real life name is Terry Farrell, that the character she was playing across from was named Terry? Seems mean.
And that feeds into central themes of the show because she was having psychosexual tension with her duality, with her own self.
Just like Pinhead.
God.
Just like Pinhead and Captain Elliot Spitzer.
Yeah.
Spitzer, is that Jewish? More on that later.
more on that. Well, yeah, that was a look at the third installment of the Christian movie franchise Hellraiser. What did we think of this, boys and Sarah? What do we think of Hellraiser 3?
This movie wasn't good. It wasn't evil. It was only flesh. A perfect score.
Whoa. This was, kind of all over the place, but it had a great setting in the bar and grill. And it's just good to see people out having fun, not letting, coronavirus rule their lives.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 1 out of 1 manhole covers flying into a sign and exploding.
As for me, Hellraiser 3 in a way might be my favorite Hellraiser, even though it has obvious flaws. Like there's so many little hooks you could say they give us that just never get resolved. The war, him killing his parents, the TV thing there's a lot of information that's not really explored, but I'm happy it was there. And also that coupled with all the really just in your face Christian imagery, I just find this movie a delight to the senses, you could say. I'm going to have to give this one 4 out of 4 semesters of an MFA in sculptural arts because I really think that, Hellraiser 3 was really, it was the trilogy. It was the perfect trilogy that I wanted from the Hellraiser franchise. So great job, everyone involved.
And you know what? We had our laughs, we had our cries, we loved, we laughed, we lost, we mourned, we grieved, we smiled. And at the end of the day, credits rolled on a Motorhead song. So for that, I'm gonna give this Hellraiser a 4 out of 4. A 4 out of 4 weird cum coming out of a statue. There was weird little cum fluid that did come out of the statue. And I thought that's a great way to get around censors for a big budget movie.
Yes.
And if we're going to see cum on the silver screen and we're going to find a loophole to do it, I'm liking that it's coming out of a semi-animate object.
I agree. That was a delightful touch of this movie. We did get to see a cum blast.
Yeah, to see cum blast represented in media is really important because we have young little Christian children running around not knowing what cum looks like. Is it yellow? Is it blue? Is it chunky? Is it boiling hot? Just watch Hellraiser and you'll figure it out.
You actually allowed 1 cum blast in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Free to R. Yeah.
Good to know. Well, yeah, Sarah, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your Hellraiser enthusiasm with us. It was really nice of you to do so. Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you guys so much for having me. And like Frank and Pinhead said, come to daddy.
well, where can our listeners, come to you if they want to find you online?
The listeners can come to daddy at any sarahsquirm.com.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't even think that I still have that anymore. I think I stopped playing I think this daddy stopped paying the GoDaddy on that domain. You can find me at Sarah Squirm at anything on all of everything, and you can, like everyone else, not watch any of the videos I put up there. So have fun. And I actually will say, one time I got banned from Twitter for like multiple months because I posted a screenshot from the movie Hellraiser 2.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So
I'm in hell, help me, written in blood on the wall.
That was ban-worthy?
What the
Yeah,
hell?
well, I also have been pushing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe perhaps Hellraiser's critique of mass media just like hit a little too close to home for @Jack and big
tech.
And just sort of you really push the buttons. Sarah, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciated your perspective on this. On the Boys Bible Study business side of things, before we go, we would love to remind you that if you enjoy our free episodes, please check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy because we make at least 2 bonus episodes every month for our loyal subscribers. If you pledge for $5 or higher, you can access all of our bonus episodes. We'd also really like to shout out our patron saints at the $20 tier. Thanks so much to Nicole, Marissa, Russell, and Jeff. Really appreciate your generous support. Thank you. Also, our outro music is Oh My God by pop singer Mary. Please check out Mary's work on Bandcamp and Spotify. On behalf of myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, our special guest today, Sarah Squirm, we would like to say, peace be with you.
Pray, and also with you. I forgot what I was supposed to say.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day